Hey, welcome back. So today we're going through two disturbing Reddit stories, and a couple of these really got to me. Drop a like and subscribe if you want more. Let's get into it. My daughter's bus driver kept taking detours to an abandoned house. I found out why. A mother's instincts are rarely wrong. I'm 31 female, a dental hygienist living in the suburbs of my daughter Riley, 8 female. My ex-husband moved out of state 2 years ago, and we have minimal contact, so it's just the two of us now. Riley takes the school bus every day. Same route, same driver, same schedule. Or at least it used to be. 3 weeks ago, Riley started coming home 25 minutes late. Every single day. At first I thought maybe traffic, maybe a new stop was added to the route. But when I asked Riley about it, she just shrugged and said the bus takes a different way now. She couldn't explain more than that. Just said they go through some neighborhoods she doesn't recognize. When I pressed her, she seemed confused herself, like she wasn't really paying attention to where they went. My gut told me something was off. The more I thought about it, the more wrong it felt. Why would a bus route suddenly change without any notice to parents? Why couldn't Riley describe where they were going? Yesterday afternoon, I made a decision. I left work early, parked near the school, and stayed back far enough that the driver wouldn't notice me tailing him. The route started normal, familiar streets, the usual stops. Kids getting dropped off at their houses like clockwork. Then, about 15 minutes in, the bus turned down a street it had no business being on. My heart started pounding. I followed at a distance. The bus entered a cul-de-sac and I watched it circle an abandoned house. Twice. Slowly, deliberately. Then it stopped. Just sat there idling directly in front of this decrepit property with boarded windows and an overgrown yard that looked like no one had touched it in years. I could see the driver through the windshield. He was staring at the house. Just staring, motionless. For 2, maybe 3 full minutes. Riley and 5 other kids were still on that bus. Then he drove away like nothing happened, continued the route normally, dropped Riley off at our stop exactly 25 minutes late, same as always. What she'd witnessed made no sense, but the dread in her chest told her it meant something terrible. Sleep wasn't an option, not after what she'd seen. The next afternoon, dread pulling her forward like gravity, she followed the same route, needing to know if this was routine. I didn't sleep that night. I kept seeing the bus sitting there, the driver frozen behind the wheel, staring at that house. What was he doing there? Why? The next afternoon, I followed the route again. Same streets, same stops, then the detour. The bus circled the abandoned house twice and stopped for 2 minutes and 43 seconds. I timed it. The driver just sat there staring while Riley was trapped on that bus. After dropping Riley at school the next morning, I drove to the house myself. The yard was overgrown. Waist-high weeds, rusted sagging fence, boarded windows, peeling paint. This place hadn't been lived in for years. I walked closer through the weeds. In the front window was a child's drawing taped to the glass from inside. Crayon stick figures, a house with a yellow sun, and across the top in big, uneven letters, Riley. My daughter's name inside an abandoned house she'd never been to. That night, I showed Riley the photo I'd taken, asked if she made it, if she'd been inside that house, if the driver had ever taken her anywhere. She looked confused and said no, never seen it, never been there. The bus only stops to drop kids off. Someone else had written my daughter's name and taped it in that window where they knew I would see it. The drawing wasn't an accident. It had been placed deliberately, taped inside an abandoned house. Someone wanted her to know they knew her daughter's name. Someone wanted her afraid. This wasn't random or coincidence. Someone was watching Riley, tracking her movements, fixating on an 8-year-old. And they were making sure her mother knew they were out there. The systems meant to protect children failed her at every turn. I called the school the next morning. The principal was dismissive, told me the driver had been with the district for 12 years, decorated employee, never a single complaint, said my concerns were overblown and that detours happen for traffic reasons. When I mentioned the drawing with Riley's name, she said kids leave things everywhere, and I was making connections that weren't there. The police were more sympathetic, but explained they couldn't launch an investigation based on bus detours and a drawing in an abandoned house. They needed concrete evidence of a crime. I felt trapped and terrified. I hired a private investigator the next day. Cost money I didn't have, but I was desperate. Started documenting everything myself, too. Exact times, routes, photos of the house, and that drawing in the window. My anxiety was spiraling. Who put my daughter's name there? Why? I couldn't eat or sleep, just watched Riley constantly. Then one evening, while I was making dinner, Riley said casually, "Mr. Davis is really nice. He talks to me sometimes on the bus." My stomach dropped. He wasn't just driving, he was engaging with her directly, building rapport, grooming her. The next morning, I pulled Riley from the bus and started driving her to school myself. She didn't understand why, and I couldn't explain without scaring her. But I couldn't let her near him again. The PI kept following the driver, digging into his background. I was counting on him to find something, anything, that would make someone listen to me. He'd been talking to her daughter, building trust, planning. This is absolutely terrifying. Thank God you followed your instincts when you did. You literally saved your daughter's life. This is exactly why background checks for school employees need federal standardization. Sealed juvenile records shouldn't allow someone to transfer districts and work with kids again. The drawing in the window with her name, I have actual chills. Did they ever figure out when he made it, or how he learned her handwriting? Police think he made it the night before I saw it, based on the crayon box and paper they found in his car. He'd been watching our house for weeks, and apparently studied Riley's schoolwork samples that were displayed in the bus. The school puts up kids' drawings sometimes. He copied her handwriting style. It makes me physically ill. 3 days later, the call came that would unravel everything. Police found the items he stole from my daughter in that house. The PI called me on a Tuesday afternoon. He'd found something in the driver's employment history. Mr. Davis had been fired from another school district 8 years ago for stalking a 9-year-old girl. Her name was Riley. He'd been doing this before, targeting children with that specific name, moving between districts. My daughter wasn't the first. She was the third Riley he'd fixated on across different school systems. I immediately called the police with this information. This time, they listened. They ran a full background check and found the sealed records from his previous termination. Set up surveillance at the abandoned house. 4 days later, they caught him there. He'd parked 2 blocks away and walked to the property just after sunset. When police entered the house, they found a room in the back that he'd been using. Inside were items stolen from my daughter over the past 3 weeks. A jacket she thought she'd lost. Hair ties I'd assumed fell out of her backpack. Her favorite stuffed animal, a small elephant named Peanut, that had disappeared 2 weeks ago and I'd searched the house for. He'd taken them piece by piece while she rode his bus. Police said he was preparing the location, creating a familiar space with her belongings, planning to lure Riley there somehow. The name wasn't random. He'd hunted for my daughter specifically because her name matched his obsession. I'm literally shaking reading this. How the hell did he get hired again after being fired before? Why were those records sealed? I'm never going to trust bus drivers the same way again. This is literal nightmare fuel. I'm so sorry you and Riley went through this. The fact that he's done this before with other kids named Riley, that's not random fixation. That's calculated predator behavior. This is premeditated obsession. This is exactly what makes it so disturbing. He wasn't randomly fixating on kids who happened to cross his path. He was actively hunting for a specific name across multiple districts. That level of calculation is terrifying. Prison couldn't undo what he'd started. He was arrested that night at the house and charged with stalking, burglary, and attempted kidnapping. The trial was mercifully quick. The evidence was overwhelming. He was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Riley has been in therapy ever since. She struggles with nightmares and trust issues, knowing that a trusted adult, someone whose literal job was to keep children safe, was planning to hurt her. She still asks sometimes why he took Peanut, why he circled the house, why he talked to her on the bus. I don't have answers that make sense to an 8-year-old. I'm not doing much better, honestly. I have severe PTSD that I'm working through in therapy myself. I can't drive past cul-de-sacs without having full panic attacks. I watch Riley obsessively. Every single moment she's out of my sight, my brain floods with images of that abandoned house and what could have happened inside it. The nightmares are constant and vivid. I see him circling that property over and over, staring through the windshield, planning, while my daughter sat trapped on his bus just a few feet away from him. He'd been stealing from her piece by piece for weeks. Hair ties, her jacket, Peanut. building a familiar space he could lure her to. The drawing with her name was bait. He wanted me to see it, wanted me terrified and confused while he kept refining his plan. I'm grateful every single day that I trusted my instincts when Riley said, "the long way." But the what-ifs haunt me constantly. What if I'd dismissed her like the school did to me? What if I'd waited one more week? How close did my 8-year-old daughter come to disappearing into that house? Your daughter is so incredibly lucky to have a mom who listened to her complaints instead of dismissing them. 3 weeks of the long way, you trusted that something was wrong. Sometimes the worst monsters hide behind the most trusted faces. On to the next one. I, 26 female, keep having accidents, and my boyfriend, 29 male, thinks I should see a neurologist, but something feels wrong. She had counted the bruises 3 times before she saw it. By the 4th count, when she finally understood the pattern, her hands were shaking too hard to hold the mirror. I'm writing this at 2 a.m. because I need outside perspective. I need to know if I'm losing my mind. For the past 2 months, I've been having serious accidents at home. It started with tripping in the hallway and slamming my shoulder into the wall hard enough to bruise. Then slipping in the shower and cracking my head on the tile. My boyfriend Jake, 29 male, heard the crash and rushed me to urgent care. 4 stitches in my scalp. A week later, I fell down all 12 stairs in our apartment building. Sprained wrist, bruises covering my legs and back. 2 weeks ago, I somehow knocked a pot of boiling water onto myself while cooking dinner. 2nd-degree burns on my thigh that still sting. Last week, another bathroom fall that left me with 2 cracked ribs. I'm 26 years old. I teach 2nd grade. I've never been clumsy in my life. I run 5Ks, I do yoga 3 times a week, and now suddenly I can't walk through my own apartment without ending up injured. Jake has been incredible through all of this. He's the one who suggested I see a neurologist. He's been documenting every single incident, taking me to appointments, researching possible causes online. He thinks it could be MS or some kind of inner ear problem. His concern is honestly the only thing keeping me from completely falling apart right now. But tonight, something happened that I can't explain. I was examining the bruises from the stair fall in the bathroom mirror. They're finally fading, turning that yellow-green color. I turned to check the ones on my back, and that's when I noticed my upper arms. There are dark bruises there, almost black in the centers. But they're not random splotches like all the others. They're shaped like fingers. 4 distinct marks on my right arm wrapping around from behind. 4 on my left arm, exact same placement. Like someone grabbed me, hard, right before I went down those stairs. I keep replaying that moment in my head. I remember the sensation of stumbling, the pure terror of falling, Jake's voice shouting my name. But I can't remember what made me stumble in the first place, and I definitely don't remember anyone grabbing my arms. But someone did. Jake was the only other person home. Am I crazy? Is this some kind of neurological thing where I'm forgetting parts of what happened? Or is something else going on here? The marks didn't lie. They told a story her memory refused to remember. And there was only one person who knew what really happened on those stairs. The pattern had been there all along. She just hadn't wanted to see it. I've been lying awake every night since I saw those fingerprint bruises, trying to make sense of it all. So I went back through everything, every accident, every injury, the hallway fall. Jake was home. I was alone in the apartment hallway. He heard me cry out. The shower slip. Jake was in the bedroom, came running when I screamed. The stairs. We were both home on a Saturday afternoon. He was behind me. Says he watched me trip and couldn't catch me in time. The boiling water. Jake was in the living room, heard the crash and my screaming. The bathroom fall last week. Jake was in bed, heard the thud. Every single time, Jake was home. Jake was nearby. Jake was the one who found me. Not once at work. Never tripped over a chair in my classroom with 27 kids watching. Never fell in the teacher's lounge with colleagues around. My sister Emma visits twice a week. Never so much as stubbed a toe when she's here. Only when Jake is the only witness. And every time his response is the same. He rushes over so concerned, helps me up so gently, photographs the injuries with his phone. For the doctors, he says. Takes me to urgent care or the ER. Sits beside me during appointments, answering questions the doctors ask me. Correcting details I get wrong because I'm still shaken up. tells them about other symptoms I apparently forgot to mention. He's been perfect. That's what makes this so insane. What kind of person suspects their boyfriend of what exactly? Hurting me on purpose? That's ridiculous. Jake loves me. We've been together 3 years. He wants to marry me. But I can't stop looking at those finger marks. Last night, it happened again. I was getting a glass of water from the kitchen. Jake was watching TV in the living room. I remember reaching for the cabinet and then, I don't know, my feet went out from under me somehow. I crashed into the counter, caught the edge with my ribs, the same ribs I cracked last week. The pain was blinding. I couldn't breathe. Jake was there instantly, kneeling beside me. "Oh my God, babe, not again. Did you get dizzy? Did you black out?" I didn't get dizzy. I didn't black out. 1 second I was standing, the next I was on the floor. But here's the thing that keeps replaying in my head. Jake's voice when he asked those questions. It sounded practiced, like he'd rehearsed the exact words he was supposed to say. And when he helped me up, his hands were already positioned exactly where the bruises from the stair fall had been. Almost like he knew where to grab me. She had seen caring boyfriends before. This was something else. Something that only looked like care if you didn't watch too closely. The voice in her head got louder every day, but so did Jake's concern. I called my sister Emma yesterday. I couldn't keep this to myself anymore. I told her about the pattern, about the finger-shaped bruises, about how every accident happens when Jake is the only one home. I could hear the fear in her voice immediately. "You need to leave," she said. "Tonight. Come stay with me." And that's when I panicked and took it all back. Told her I was just stressed from work, that the school year has been brutal, that I'm probably just paranoid and looking for patterns that aren't there. Because Jake has been nothing but supportive. He's the one pushing me to see doctors. He's the one taking care of me after every accident. What kind of person hurts someone and then insists they get medical help? Emma didn't sound convinced, but she backed off. The accidents haven't stopped. 2 more in the past week. I don't even remember what caused them anymore. Jake found me both times, documented the injuries with his phone, made appointments with specialists. Yesterday, he sat me down and said we needed to talk seriously about my health. He's worried I'm going to hurt myself badly or hurt one of my students. He thinks I should take medical leave from teaching. He's found a neurologist who can see me next week, and he's also researched therapists who specialize in anxiety-related clumsiness. Anxiety-related clumsiness. That's what he called it. He showed me articles he's printed out, studies about psychosomatic symptoms. He's highlighted sections that match my pattern of behavior. I'm starting to think he's right. Maybe I am losing my mind. Maybe the stress of teaching 2nd grade during a pandemic finally broke something in my brain. Maybe I'm manufacturing suspicions about Jake because I can't accept that something is wrong with me. The finger-shaped bruises are almost gone now. Maybe I imagined their shape. Maybe they were just random bruising that looked like fingers because I wanted to see a pattern. I don't know what's real anymore. OP, has anyone else witnessed these accidents, or is it always just him? That's a huge red flag. Now that you mention it, every single one. The stair fall was when he was helping me carry laundry. The burn happened while he was teaching me a new recipe. Even the shower slip was right after he installed a new shower head and called me in to test the pressure. I thought he was just always around because we lived together, but God, I feel sick writing this out. My aunt went through something similar. Her husband was giving her small doses of Benadryl in her coffee to make her drowsy. Please get a blood test done without telling him. Document everything, but more importantly, tell someone you trust in person, not just online. Someone who can help you leave if needed. Emma's voice on the phone was different this time. Not worried. Certain. I set up a camera and caught everything on film. Emma called me 3 days ago. She didn't ask how I was doing. She went straight to it. Every single accident happens when he's the only one there. You said it yourself. Every single one. I started to argue, but she cut me off. Mom had a clumsy phase too, with David before Dad. She fell downstairs, burned herself cooking, slipped in the shower. Just like you. He was always the only witness. always so concerned, always documenting everything. I felt like I'd been hit. I never knew that about Mom. She finally left when she realized he was building a case to have her declared incompetent, to take control of her money, her decisions. Please tell me you'll at least check your medical records. I hung up shaking, but I did it. I requested my records from urgent care and the ER. They arrived yesterday. I've read them 5 times and I can't stop crying. Jake told the doctors I have a drinking problem, that I hide bottles, that I black out regularly. None of that is true. I barely drink. He told them my mother has a history of seizures and early onset dementia. My mother is 54 and healthy. No seizures, no dementia, no neurological issues. He's been in every appointment, answering questions for me, correcting my answers, building a medical history that makes me sound unstable, unreliable, incompetent. And I just sat there and let him because he was being so supportive. The worst part is the notes from the last ER visit. The doctor wrote, "Patient's boyfriend reports increasing confusion and memory loss. Recommends psychiatric evaluation. Boyfriend very concerned, very involved in care." He's not trying to help me. He's been systematically destroying my credibility. I don't know what to do. I'm terrified. This is terrifying. Please trust your gut. Those finger-shaped bruises are not from a fall. Jumping on this, OP, take photos of those bruises now and send them to someone you trust outside the relationship. If he's staging accidents, he might escalate when he realizes you're catching on. The fact that he's suggesting neurologist appointments and talking to your doctors is a classic abuser tactic. He's building a paper trail that makes you look unstable. The camera captured what her memory couldn't remember. The truth had been there all along, waiting to be seen. After reading those medical records, I couldn't ignore it anymore. Emma helped me order a hidden camera online. We installed it in the hallway while Jake was at work. 4 days passed. Nothing. I started feeling paranoid again. Then, on the 5th day, I was carrying laundry upstairs. Jake followed me into the hallway. I have the footage saved in 3 places. I've watched it dozens of times. He pushed me, both hands hard between my shoulder blades, deliberate, calculated. I went down all 12 stairs. The sound of my body hitting each step makes me sick every time. Then instantly he rushed down, face transformed into perfect concern. "Oh my God, babe, are you okay?" Already calling 911. Already the terrified boyfriend witnessing another accident. None of them were accidents. Emma and I went to the police yesterday. Jake was arrested at work. We moved my things out while he was processed. I'm staying with Emma now. I'm in physical therapy 3 times a week. Cracked ribs still healing. Burns that left scars. A wrist that aches when the weather changes. Real injuries he deliberately caused over 2 months. The bruises are fading. The bones will mend eventually. But what haunts me most is how easily he made me doubt myself. How close he came to convincing everyone, doctors, family, me, that I was the one falling apart. I'm safe now. I'm learning to trust my own perception again. Slowly, but I'm getting there. When the comments came, they brought something she hadn't felt in months. Validation that she wasn't crazy after all. I'm a physical therapist, and finger-shaped bruises don't happen from falls. They happen from being grabbed or pushed with force. Please be safe, OP. And that's the last story for today.